Good afternoon, everyone. As my projection shows, the theme of my research project was built around last November's theme of the GFBR. There in Annecy, France, we looked at issues surrounding research in epidemic situations or in public health emergency situations. And so my project was looking at the oversight of the research and how best to facilitate that in the research setting where time is of the essence. And so at that particular GFBR meeting, a number of the presenters emphasized the fact that they were doing research, but that their research was held up at the research ethics review stage. The committee couldn't meet, or the committee took long to deliberate, etc., etc. And so various forms of research we know are essential in public health emergencies or in epidemic situations. But ethical challenges exist, and I chose to focus on the long length of time that it takes for research ethics review. And so my project, one of the aims of my project was to develop a model for efficient communication and collaboration between research ethics committees and ministries of health in the Caribbean, and also to develop a template that these committees could use to expedite research in epidemic and emergency situations. And so I conducted interviews in Jamaica, the largest English-speaking Caribbean country that had a number of research ethics committees. I looked at and interviewed public health officials there, as well as the chairs of the main research ethics committees. I also conducted interviews in St. Lucia, which is like the headquarters for 9 Eastern Caribbean countries, and conducted interviews with their ministries of health, with Ministry of Health officials, as well as members of their research ethics committee. Now, the information that I obtained from those interviews and consultations was used to develop a template application form that could be standardized, that could be used in emergency settings and epidemic situations. And the data that I obtained used to develop a template in terms of what would be the ideal model for communication between committees and ministries of health in that type of scenario. And so the outputs that I've gained so far, I've developed a template that in applying to research ethics committees could be used in emergency situations, a template checklist of what should be included in applying to those committees when you plan to do research in emergency and epidemic situations. And I've also researched the ethics committee landscape, what has been published about this type of scenarios doing research in epidemic situations and emergency situations. Now, in terms of work to be completed, I've given myself a target to finish that by the end of this month. I need to complete the evaluation of all the data that I've collected to come up with the best template for communication and collaboration between research ethics committees, as well as a template for the expeditious review of proposed research during epidemic or emergency situations. And I need to put all of that together in an academic paper for publication, hopefully, where my aim is to go after the Developing World Bioethics Journal, because we are focusing in particular with the challenges that we face in low and middle income countries. And when completed, I plan to present the templates to all the research ethics. We have 21 registered research ethics committees across the Caribbean, and publications would go beyond that in terms of what the templates, how these templates could be used in epidemic and emergency situations. So that, in a synopsis, is my work. Thank you very much.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm going to present the proposed project for the Global Forum of the last year. We have a situation in the Latin America and Caribbean that happened a few months ago after the forum. And it actually was the Zika outbreak that began at that time in Brazil. So as we know, there were so many ethical considerations, and they were all over the place, discussions regarding the ethical considerations regarding prevention, the surveillance, and research. And actually, we try immediately to contact several of our colleagues in the region, and we talked to Dr. Carla Sainz from the PAJO, and also to other colleagues that are here, including Dr. Derrick. It was really useful, this document, the ethics consultation, okay, that was written by the Pan-American organization to help us in this discussion, and we brought the topic to our institution. It was discussed with our technical team, and we began thinking on a potential objective for this project. And basically, we think that there are three main things that were presented in this document that we need to work on: prevention. Secondly, we need to work on surveillance, and a third consideration was on research. But this doesn't come automatically. For developing countries as Dominican Republic, we have also so many challenges in order to let's say, meet these research needs, and we attempt to develop a qualitative study asking to those authorities, those at universities and research institutions, regarding the opportunities, regarding the challenges, the strength that we can have to collaborate, to go, let's say, and work through international collaborative research partnerships. So we performed 32 interviews in 2 focus groups. We started working on a literature review and a desk work. We thought that it was a good fit for the Global Forum because it was the theme was on epidemics. And as we know, the WHO immediately said that this is a global public health emergency that requires a united response. But we know that we don't have the same possibilities to go further on this, and we want to empirically ask this question. If research is an ethical obligation, what about those countries? What they need to do to meet that ethical standard? So we thought about the potential impact of this research, and also that there was a panic situation. We need to say that when we were dealing with the Zika epidemics in countries as the Dominican Republic, we have people leaving the country because of the of the emergency, and we can say that there was also like a panic situation at that time. At that time also we have some international collaborative funding that was open, but we also want to know if our researchers knew about those research opportunities that were open at that time. And we want also to consider if this was also a matter of perceptions. If somebody don't really think that this was an important issue to work with. So basically the outputs that we will try to do is obviously to publish our work, also to, after we have analyzed the data, also to work in a technical meeting, asking the same people to come to a meeting to further discuss this issue, and obviously try to make some publication to the media, so also we can go through engagement, community engagement. So we have some preliminary findings. And as I said, we haven't analyzed yet all the data. We do have the data right now, but not already analyzed. But we know in our discussion through the research team that there are, specifically there are some issues that we identify, like saying that there is not a clear definition or a clear consideration what means collaborative research. In ethical standpoint, we know what we are talking about. Just to mention, for example, Ezequiel Emmanuel, he mentions collaborative research as one ethical consideration, but we know that this point of view is not being considered. Also, for some, there is no, Zika was not an important issue to work with. So if we analyze the research gaps that we have in the country, for some, Zika was something that was not primarily a priority in our city. We also saw that the measures for capacity building were not in place. So taking into account that we took a national health system point of view to analyze this, we are not seeking just for ethical issues without taking into consideration a system perspective of research. In that matter, we were asking also about capacity building of current projects and future projects. And it was clearly also that there are not good strategies to work through collaborative research because they do not have also a capacity building strategy. And the coordination between these institutions, let's say an institution from the National Public Health Office, a lack of any kind of coordination. And we think that there is place to develop and to improve South-to-South collaborations and also North-to-South collaborative research efforts. Something really important that we have starting to see is that there is no place for improvisation. So when epidemics comes, if we are not prepared in terms of having research groups that are able to work collaboratively with locally speaking, and then internationally, we are not going to meet these international and ethical requirements. So we plan to finish our project in the few weeks to come, and then probably we are going to share some results. Thank you.